media sometimes blows things out of proportion. You get one sentence that is highlighted and nobody's bothered to really see the whole conversation in context. It's just not necessarily a healthy environment, and I also find many of the platforms to be extremely toxic, and I find people to be very negative.
And I'm sure you must have heard these words a lot: the nepotism, privilege, star kids.
It is a reality, and it is something that very strongly exists. Even in our struggle, we are privileged.
Hello everyone and welcome to midday.com. Today I'm here with Saif Ali Khan and Alaya F. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you.
So I have to say the trailer looks amazing. It looked like so much fun. I want to know, what was your experience working on this film?
Well, I think films is luck. In a lot of film of it is luck. You put a bunch of people together, especially if there's new people, and in the sense that Nitin and I have never worked together, the director of the movie. The crew and I have never worked together. The producers and I, Jay Shokrani, not worked together, and Alaya and I had never worked together. So we didn't really know what's going to happen. And we've been really lucky because the material was good and it was nicely written, but the way Nitin has directed it is he's elevated every scene and made it much, much more than what was on paper, which is what our job should be. And Alaya has been a dream to work with because she's just really made that role come alive, and she's played it in a way that I can't imagine it being played better. The film is very, very much about her and her character working. So these were the risks, and we were lucky that everyone's energy was just brilliant. So we had a great time, and I think what we have is something special, and it shows on screen.
And what about you?
I think the whole environment on set was firstly very happy, which I think we've said so many times because it really was. But more than that, it was so collaborative, every day, if I ever felt like, I don't think my character would say this, I always had the option of going to the Sunny, be like, what do you think she would say, or what do you think, and there were so many times we'd sit before a scene and we'd discuss it, and we'd discuss how we want to go about it, whether we want to change lines, and everyone from Saif sir to Tabu ma'am to Nitin sir to everyone was always so ready to be there and help and be present. And there were so many times where I didn't get a scene where Saif sir would be like, you see that, I think that's what is causing the problem, maybe you should. Everyone was always ready to help and make things better. No one was being selfish with their work. Everyone wanted this to be the best it could be, and it was very positive environment in every way. And I just had so much fun.
Playing a father to a teenage girl, an older teenage girl, were you at all apprehensive before playing such a role? Because although you have played a dad before, did you have any doubts about it? Or
No, not at all. Sometimes when we talk about fathers' roles, we kind of talk, I think it's a leftover feeling from a generation that's gone by, about slightly, establishment characters that are a bit dull, really.
Yeah.
These characters are really reluctant dads. They're like mistakes. They don't even know whether they want to be. So it's like he's struggling with that whole idea, and at the same time, so he doesn't really think of himself as a kind of establishment figure. So it's a responsibility that's being put on him, and it's a really important role. I mean, it's one of the most important roles in life, being a father, which we often get wrong. So it's a very interesting thing, and a lot of the work I'm being offered these days is about some kind of father who's not ready for it. But I think that's very appropriate to my age and the stage I'm at in life. So I don't have any issue with playing that. In fact, quite the opposite. I'm thoroughly enjoying it.
So when you became a father for the first time in real life, did you have any learnings from that, or did you take back anything that you applied here?
Every time I've been a father, I've kind of tried to be a father in terms of physically, biologically, and mentally. Whereas this character is not at all, the last thing he wants is to have a child. That would just shock and destroy the way he sees his life. So that's the comedy of this. There is, later on in life, in the film, when my character has to deal with his responsibility, there is some experience that we have used. But most of it is actually very different from how I see my children.
Was there any specific prep that you all did for this role?
Some characters are closer to your personality in terms of voice, language, and kind of mental outlook than others. So some characters need prep because you have to learn a dialect, or you have to think of a body language that's not natural. And some characters actually need less prep, or should have less prep, because some spontaneity would be nice. And you don't have to work everything out because you kind of understand. So we kind of worked on the look and got a slightly different hairstyle, and tried to find a tattoo design for the arm that doesn't look like my hand though, it looks a bit large.
Yeah, it's just...
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does look big.
Yeah, so physically something new, but mentally not really that different, that required prep. You have to prep, you have to learn your lines. If you know your lines backwards, then, then that's the start.
You've studied a lot. I mean, you've done
Ask
a
her
lot
about her prep.
Yeah, I know. I mean, you've...
I started off with doing a direction course at New York University. I was supposed to be there for 4 years. And that's when I had one acting class in there. And
luckily she wasn't telling us though. I think the camera should be here.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Some people do that though.
Really?
Yeah, some actors do that.
I wasn't saying anything. I was like, tell me what to do. I'll be directable. So that's when I realized I wanted to act, and I switched to acting. I did 1 more year in New York. Then I came back because that's a fully different world. You're acting in English. You're doing, It was just to mainly get my confidence. So I know that I could act. So I wasn't, I came back to Bombay and I then started my real training. I trained for another 2 years. I did lots of diction classes that are now going, so I did a lot of diction classes. I did acting classes. I did lots of dance classes. So I was a very bad dancer. I trained a lot. And for this character, again, this character is very similar to who I am as a person. I don't think we're that different. What I did with Nitin sir is we did lots of readings. I went to London 10 days before my shoot started so I could, be on set, observe what was going on, settle into everything. But that's about it. But I think it's quite hard to play yourself, Not that I've experienced playing anything else as of now, but I thought it was very interesting.
Alaya, you come from a film family, and I'm sure you must have heard these words a lot: the nepotism, privilege, star kids. So are you tired of hearing these, or do you think that it's just a debate that's never ending?
I think it's extremely important for it to be spoken about because it is a reality and it is something that very strongly exists. I just think it's important to realize that even in our struggle, we are privileged. And by that I mean is I did go and test for things, but I have to also realize that when I'm getting rejected from my 10th audition, someone out there is getting rejected from their 100th audition. When I'm upset that something hasn't worked out or something isn't happening, and I come back home and I'm sad and upset and, I'm crying under my blanket, I'm entitled to that. I'm entitled to feel low and upset. But I'm still surrounded by my family, by my friends. I can pick up my phone and call someone. I know tomorrow I will go have another meeting. I will go do another audition. Whereas someone that comes from a small town, that comes here, works through the day, then at night, then goes and gives auditions, then comes back to a small PG where, they don't really have any family or support. That struggle is far greater. And I think it's very important to acknowledge that struggle and acknowledge that it is far greater than anything I will have to go through. And, but at the same time, just because I do have a certain privilege doesn't mean I won't pursue, this, and doesn't mean I won't do what I love to do. So no, I do think it's a very important debate that does need to happen. I think until my work can speak for itself, this will be a constant factor, and that's okay by me.
And with newcomers, there's always this thing where there are a lot of people, targeting what you say, what you do. Everything is scrutinized a lot.
Yeah,
how do you go about dealing with that? And you too?
Well, there's two sides to it. I think sometimes I feel maybe we shouldn't talk so much, and there's a shame because I think the more honest you are, or the more whatever your views are, if there's a healthy disagreement, that's fine. But if people get violent about it, then I think the best and most intelligent people will just not say anything, and they'll play it very safe, which will be very boring actually in terms of content, but that's just how it's going to be.
So they are again targeted by other people who say that celebs don't. There are certain they don't.
It doesn't matter. I think we'll have to generally play it. I mean, like the trouble is, even the media sometimes blows things out of proportion. You get one sentence that is highlighted, and nobody's bothered to really see the whole conversation in context. So there's that, and it's just not necessarily a healthy environment in which to. So people tend not to take any kind of stand because it's much simpler. I'm completely apolitical. I have no political views whatsoever that I want to share. I just want to work and be an actor. So actually I have nothing to say beyond a point. But very easily we can get pulled into an argument, which is avoidable. That's my view. I don't know what your view is.
See, like Saif said, sometimes it's better to not talk that much. I talk a lot. And I just hope that I say the right thing. And I'm sure I'll learn. I'm sure I'll say a lot of stupid things and I'm sure I'll learn from them. And I don't know, I've just started, so I don't have enough experience to say, this gets targeted, that gets targeted. I watch my contemporaries' interviews a lot. I learn from their mistakes and their good points. But that's about it. I mean, I'll let you know when I say something stupid and then you can interview me about that.
Is that one of the reasons why you're not on social media?
I'm not on social media because I find it to be a distraction from my own life. And I also find many of the platforms to be extremely toxic, and I find people to be very negative and not so nice. I don't think they're intelligent enough or even well read enough to kind of have an equal conversation on so many points. So, I mean, I love some things. I like Instagram, I like the idea of some pictures, but there's certain forums where, and anyway, we should be private individuals with private views. We don't have to have everything splayed out into a marketplace open for argument, and it just gets all red hot and gets out of control. So I'm actually really happy I'm not on it, because I don't want to share my views and I don't want to get into a conversation with someone I don't know.
Would you all like to tell the audience one or two reasons why they should watch Jawaani Jaaneman?
Mainly because it's a fun movie, and it's a nice tale. It's really well directed. It's a nice story. It's an interesting take on. I've done a lot of romantic comedies, and I think the same guy going to the same club, but not meeting a girl, or meeting a girl, but turns out to be his daughter, and what happens next just brings the reality of his life crashing in on him. That, you know, he's not a kid anymore, and I think that makes for entertaining viewing.
It's a happy, feel-good film. You're going to walk out of it with a smile on your face, and I think that's reason enough. It's a nice ride it takes you on. It's funny, it's entertaining, and yeah, it's just a very happy film.
Thank you so much. All the best for your debut,
Thank you
and
so
all the
much.
best for all the films that you're going to do. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Saif Ali Khan, and you're watching me on midday.com.
Subscribe to Midday India. Get direct notifications on all our videos by clicking on the bell icon.